In today's lesson, we're going to look at how to solve some fraction word problems using our times table facts to find fractions of amounts. If you haven't already, there are 2 previous fraction videos where we learn about unit fractions and non-unit fractions. It may be helpful to watch those first. We're going to take a look at some examples of word problems which are similar to the ones on your worksheet. So I'll demonstrate how we could solve the problems and then you can have a go at the questions on your worksheet independently. There were 14 chocolate buttons in a bag. Jude shares it equally with his sister and gives her half of the chocolate buttons. How many chocolate buttons did Jude give his sister? So in this question, we have 14 chocolate buttons and we know it's shared equally. There was 2 of them, so that must have been a half. And we also have half written in our problem. So what we're looking for is half of 14. Now, when we find half, we share it by the denominator and then we multiply it by the numerator. So we're looking at sharing our 14 into 2. Okay, so we're first of all dividing 14 by 2. So if you're not confident with using your times table methods first, have a look at the previous 2 videos and they talk about how you can use resources to help you. So you may use 14 counters, share them into 2 groups. You may use a bar of 14. So you might get a bar, split it into 14 and then try and split that into 2. Okay, so however you do it, we're working towards using our times table facts. So if you're not quite there yet, then use the resources that I demonstrate in the previous 2 videos. So here I'm going to use my times table fact. If I am sharing into 2 groups and dividing by 2, I'm using my 2 times tables. So if you don't know this straight away, you could also count up in your 2s. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, that is 7. So half of 14, I've shared into 2 groups. I'm looking at one of the groups. So if that was my 14 chocolate buttons, I've shared them into 2 groups and I'm just looking at one group. So my answer is 7. Let's have a look at another question. There are 18 children in year 3. 1/3 of them have a pet cat. How many children have cats? So we're looking at 18 children and 1/3. 1/3 of them have a pet cat. How many have cats? So what I want to find here is 1/3 of 18. So I look at my denominator and that's what I'm sharing by. So I'm going to be doing 18 divided by 3. Again, if I don't know my times tables very confidently, I could use counters or the bar model, but we're going to be working towards using our times tables. So I'm going to count up in 3s till I get to 18. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. That was 6 times. So if I had my 18 children and I split them into 3 groups, I would have 6 in each group. And I want to look at one of the groups. So just one of the groups is my answer. My answer is 6. 6 children have cats. Let's look at another question. There are 36 people waiting for a home delivery slot. I'm actually going to highlight that now. There are not enough slots for 1/4 of the people queuing. How many people didn't get to book a shopping slot? So we're looking at 1/4 of our 36 people did not get a slot. So 1/4 of 36 are the people who didn't get to book a shopping slot. So we're going to divide by our denominator. So we're going to share our 36 is going to be shared into 4 groups. So I'm going to divide by 4, which means I'm using my 4 times tables. If you don't know it instantly, let's count up in our 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36. That was 9. So in each of my 4 groups, there would be 9 people. And I just want to look at 1/4, one of my quarters. My answer is 9. Rosie has saved £300 this year from her birthday money. I'm going to highlight that. And from doing chores. She decides to give 1/10 to charity. How much money does she donate to charity? So she's got £300 and she's donating 1/10, which means it's 1/10 of 300. Okay, I'm going to write that in before I do my calculation. So I know that I need to divide by the denominator. So I know that I need to do 300 divided by 10. Okay, so when we're dividing by 10, we should be able to work with larger numbers that aren't in our times table. If you're a bit stuck on this, there is a video where we go through dividing by 10, 100 and 1000s. If you look in our YouTube library and go back, you'll be able to find a video called it's a simple guide to calculating percentages. In the first part of that video, we talk about how to divide by 10 and 100. If you're not sure, you could count up in tens, and I'm sure most of you can count in tens. We've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Now, if there are 10 tens in 100, then there's going to be 10 tens in another 100 and 10 tens in another 100. And there's my 300s. So how many tens did I have? 10, 20, 30. So my answer is 30. If I had £300, so there's Rosie's £300. If we split it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 groups, every group would have £30. So we've shared our original number by 10 by the denominator, and I only want to look at one of those groups. So my answer is £30. Finally, for part 1A, if you're doing the 3-star problems, Geeta spent 4 hours a day doing homeschooling. So I'm going to highlight that. 3/4 of her learning time was spent using a computer. How much time did she spend learning on her computer? So we're looking for our 3/4 of the 4 hours. So I want to do 4 first of all. So this is moved on to a slightly harder, it's a non-unit fraction. I'm still going to divide by my 4 first. So we're going to do 4 divided by 4 first, because we always divide by our denominator. Here's my 4 hours, and I'm going to put it into 4 sections. 4 divided by 4, well, 4 only fits inside 4 one time. So if I divide my 4 hours into 4 sections, I have 1 in every section. Now this is the bit that you need to remember. After I've shared by my denominator, I multiply by my numerator. Now previously, the first 4 questions have all been looking at unit fractions. If you're not sure what a unit fraction is, remember to check out the video. A unit fraction is when the numerator is just 1. We're just looking at one group. So you share and then you've got your answer. A non-unit fraction, when you've got a number that isn't 1 on top of the fraction line in your numerator position, we need to look at that many groups. So I need to look at 3 groups. I've shared my 4 into 4 groups, and now I need to look at 1, 2, 3 of my groups need to join together. So I've got 1 plus 1 plus 1, or I've got 1 times 3. And the answer is 3. Geeta spends 3 hours using her computer for home learning. Okay, you are now ready to have a go at part 1A on the worksheet, or you may want to have a look, carry on watching the video where we go on to slightly harder questions, which will help you with part 1B of your worksheet if you want to have a go at that bit. Okay, there were 36 chocolate buttons in a bag. Jude shares some with his sister, but he keeps 2/3 for himself. How many chocolate buttons does Jude keep? So first of all, we write out 2/3 of 36. Jude keeps 2/3 of the 36 chocolate buttons. So how much does he keep? How many chocolate buttons does he have? So the first thing we do is we share by our denominator. My 36 chocolate buttons needs to be shared into 3 groups. To do that, I carry out the calculation 36 divided by 3. I'm going to use my times table knowledge, my 3 times table knowledge. How many 3s fit into 36? It's 12. If you're not confident at doing it straight away, count up in your 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36. You don't need to be as fast as I am doing that, but you can write it down, use resources, use a bar model, but you need to get good at your times table. By the end of year 4, you need to know all of your times table facts and how to use them to find division questions. So my 3 groups have got 12 in each of them. 36 has been shared into 3 groups, and now looking back at my 2/3, I need to look at 2 of my groups. So I need to put 2 of my groups together. I'm going to put these 2 groups together, and 12 plus 12, or 12 times 2, is 24. My answer is that Jude keeps 24 chocolate buttons to himself. Let's look at another problem. There are 600 children in a school. 6/10 of them have a pet cat. How many of the children have a cat? So we've got 6/10 of 600. Step 1, we share by our denominator. My 600 needs to be shared into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 groups. So I'm first of all going to do 600 divided by 10. Now you should be able to divide by 10 mentally, even when that number isn't in the times table you're learning, up to 12 times 10. So if you're not sure, check out the video in our school closure playlist. It's a simple guide to calculating percentages. The first part of the video goes through dividing by 10 and dividing by 100, which is a skill you need to learn in year 3 and in year 4. So 600 divided by 10 is 60. So I know that in each of my 10 groups, I have 60. So 600 is made up of 10 groups of 60. And then my next part is to look at 6 of the groups. I check my numerator. So I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these groups together. Now I could add them. And adding 66 times is the same as saying 60 times 6. Now, if I know that 6 times 6 is 36, I also know that 6 tens times 6 is 36 tens. Or 60 times 6 is 36. So I've divided by 10 to get 60, and I've multiplied by the numerator 6 to get my answer. 360 children had cats. Let's move on. There are 72 people waiting for a home delivery shopping slot. There are not enough slots for 2/6 of the people queuing. So how many people didn't get to book a shopping slot? So 2/6 of the 72 people did not get a shopping slot. So let's look at our fraction. We need to share by our denominator. So our 72 needs to be shared into 6 groups. So for that, I'm going to do 72 divided by 6. And using my 6 times table knowledge, I know that 12 sixes make 72. So I know that there are going to be 6 groups of 12 in my 72. I now need to look at my numerator. That is telling me that I want 2 of my groups. So I can do 12 plus 12 or 12 times 2. And my answer is that 24 people did not get to book a shopping slot. Let's look at another one. Rosie has saved £96 this year. 3/8 of it were from her birthday. How much money did she get on her birthday? So we're looking at 3/8 of 96. So you know the drill now. We look at our denominator. I want to share my £96 into 8 groups. So I'm going to use my times table knowledge, my 8 times table knowledge. How many 8s fit in 96? It's 12. So my 96 can be split into 8 groups of 12. Then looking at my numerator, the top part of my fraction, that tells me how many groups I need. I need 3 of my groups together. So I need to do 12 times 3, which is 36. So £36 of Rosie's £96 came from her birthday. Let's look at our final question. Geeta spent 16 hours a week doing homeschooling. 5/8 of her learning was spent using a computer. How much time did she spend using a computer for her learning? So we've got 5/8 of her 16 hours. So we need to share our 16 into 8 groups. So 16 divided by 8. When we're sharing by 8, we're dividing by 8. I'm going to use my 8 times table to help me. I know that 2 8s fit in 16. So I know that every group has got 2 in it. And then looking back at my fraction, the numerator, the number at the top is 5. That tells me how many how many groups I need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need to do 5 times 2 to get my answer, which is 10. 5/8 of the 16 hours was 10. So Geeta spent 10 hours a week learning on her computer. So now we've looked through the strategies, you should be ready to have a go at the questions on part 1B of your worksheet. Remember to share your number by the denominator first, divide by the denominator, use your times table facts. If you're not confident with that yet, you need to make sure you're revising your times table, but you could use resources, you could use counters, you can draw a bar model, you can do grouping. So get good at using your times tables because it's really important and will really help you with fractions. So divide by your denominator, and once you know how many is in each equal group, you then multiply it by your numerator, and that will give you your answer. So have a go at those questions on the worksheet and good luck. I hope you've learned something new today. If you've enjoyed this lesson video, then please have a look at our website where you can sign up for access to loads more free resources to support maths learning in Key Stage 2. So that's years 3 to 6. I started doing these lesson videos in response to the school closure. We already have a year 6 app on the market, but the years 3 to 4 and 5 are all being designed especially to help you with your homeschooling. So if you want to keep up to date with more resources as I make them, then check out the website and you'll be able to sign up at www.pocketprivatetutor.co.uk. We're also on Facebook and Instagram where I'm posting loads of different puzzles and tips and tricks that you can have a go at with your family at home. Hope you've enjoyed the lesson.